Home with God, Chapter 33. I am you, simply causing you to remember me. Robert Heinlein put that in a book 45 years ago. Another of my messengers. So, I too have come back to life. Well, let me ask you this. Have you had occasions when it looked as if you had bought the farm? Sure have. I think I know the kind of thing you're talking about now. And I know I've had instances like that. Of course you have. Would you like me to describe them to you? No, I know which ones you're talking about. There's one you may not know of. There's one you may not remember. It was in the moments after your birth. You were premature. You weighed just over 4 pounds. It was not expected that you would live. But I did. The second time, yes. I beg your pardon. The second time you lived. The first time you did not. Oh boy, we're off the map here again, folks. We're off the map. After you died the first time, you indicated that you did not feel complete with what you moved into physicality to experience. And what was that? Giving to others. You wanted to experience giving to others. You wanted to experience loving. You did your best by dying, but in the end you felt it was not enough. You wanted to experience more. Wait a minute, I died at birth to give to others? You completely served your mother's agenda and your father's. In that moment, you gave the only thing you had to give, life itself, to completely serve your parents' agendas. What were their agendas? They will reveal that to you themselves when the time comes, and it will come. I can tell you about your own agenda, however, at any time. Your agenda in this lifetime is to experience how to love, selflessly, completely. You did that in the first moment of your life. You gave your life for another. But as I said, your experience of giving did not feel complete to you. You wanted to give more. You wanted to keep on giving. So you jumped realities. I'm sorry? Remember when we talked earlier about the possibility of alternate realities? When you die and then go back, what you do in actuality is simply move your conscious awareness to an alternate reality. In that reality you experience the moment of your death over again, but this time you don't die, you live. In some case, what that looks like is a near miss. In other cases, it might be a surprising recovery or sudden remission. It is like being inserted in the timeline in the moments or weeks before you die, and then throwing a switch that diverts the train, sending it off into another track. This is what you did the other times too, the times you know about, the times you recall. In each of those moments, you remember them? You thought you were a goner. I did, for sure. And you were right. You were a goner. I mean, you left. You were gone. I was dead. Every time. This is really bending my mind. I've been dead. Dead as a doornail. And yet here I am. Right here, right now. What, you think cats are the only ones who have 9 lives? Yes, you were what you call dead all of those other times. You went through all the stages. By that point in your life, you'd heard about hell. So you went ahead and created your own hell and went through that experience. Then you came to a place of remembering. You remembered that hell does not exist. Then you created something else, something much more pleasant, but you were not satisfied. Then you met me in the moment of total immersion. Then you had your life review. And then I made the holy inquiry, and you decided to go back. You didn't feel complete, you said. Now I understand a lot better a note someone sent me a few months ago. Wow, now this truly makes sense completely. Read this. Dear Neil, for whatever it may be worth, I would like to tell you a little story about what happened to me just before Christmas. I had been on a work assignment and was reluctantly separated from my husband for 6 weeks prior to Christmas. I had a week in the middle of this assignment to drive the 5 hours from Grand Junction to Loveland, CO, and be home for Christmas on December 22nd at 11 p.m. I began my trip hoping to avoid upcoming bad weather the following day. It was a starry night up until I got through the Eisenhower Tunnel at Loveland Pass. I exited the tunnel and found myself in a blizzard of snow, and later a real whiteout. It was pretty hairy driving, and I asked God to keep me safe. When I hit Denver, the driving got better. Heading north on I-25, the road became quite dry with some snow flurries. I was traveling about 50 miles an hour on a straight stretch of road when suddenly I hit an ice patch and my car spun out sideways. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I hit the left guard rail straight on and felt sudden intense pain in the lower portion of my face. I didn't know how badly I was hurt and got pretty panicked when in the distance I could see the headlights of an oncoming truck. My car engine had cut out and I was stopped in the middle of the interstate. I knew I would be hit before the driver could see me and stop on that icy road. I was not thinking clearly enough to get out of the car, and all I could do was to try to turn on my flashers. I was groping about but could not find the button to turn them on. Then a miracle happened. My car started to slide backward for no reason. It slid onto the right shoulder and touched the right side guardrail, where it stopped just as the truck whizzed by. The rest of the story is not relevant here. Very briefly told, I was able to start the car and drive another 15 miles to my home. I saw my dentist later that day and he found no fractures and no loosened teeth loosened teeth will probably tighten up in a couple of more months. There was no great damage to me, and I consider myself truly blessed to have had this experience. Some people think I was unfortunate. Some think I was just plain lucky. But I know better, and a few others know too. With love, Inga Cross. So near misses are really reruns with a new outcome. What an idea. A second chance. A chance to finish up. To come to completion. To do what we came here to do. Yes. And I've been dead 3 times before. 4 times. Don't forget your birthing death. And even when I was an adult, I came back. After all that living. You said you had a lot you wanted to do. A lot you still wanted to experience. You said you wanted to do better by your children. You said you wanted to experience loving the women who loved you, instead of mistreating them. Most of all, you said you wanted to change the world's idea about God and about life. What does that last part have to do about remembering how to love? You said you realized that once the world remembers who and what God is, and how really life functions, it would be nothing for people to remember how to love, and that everybody would love everybody without condition. After you remembered what was on the other side, after you spent some time in the afterlife, after you realized that hell was a figment of your imagination, and that everything was, and mostly after you met me, you said you wanted to help the world understand some things. But first you said you needed to understand some things, experientially. Like what? You became homeless at 49 in the middle of your life. You created more life partners and left them, just as you did the earlier ones. Through these devices you learned more about betrayal, about your own ability to betray others, about how it feels when others betray you. You learned a little about love. You learned a lot about abandonment. Abandonment by life itself. You were out there on the streets, living outside, a tent for a home for almost a year. You learned what it was like being broke. So broke that $1 looked like a lot of money to you, and $2 was a fortune. One day you gave away money you didn't think you could afford to give away. Your heart went out to somebody and you just gave them the little change you had. On that day you learned about true generosity. You also learned that there was more where that came from. And this was a big remembering. You discovered again the universe's endless supply. Very soon you were rich. Rich beyond your wildest dreams. And you began changing the world's mind about God, and about life, and about each other. Now you have a better relationship with your children. Now you're even learning, the hard way, still hurting others, but at least learning the beginnings of a new way to love. Now you write books and sell millions of them. Now you travel the world talking to thousands of people. Now you're on radio and television and even in the movies. You think this all happened by chance. You think this all happened by chance. I tell you, you chose all of this. And of course, you've learned nothing. The term learned is just a figure of speech. I use it because you use it. I talk like you do. I use the vernacular that you use. We both know that you have learned nothing. You have merely remembered. You remembered about abandonment. You remembered about generosity. You're trying hard to remember about love. You have brought back to your conscious mind as much as you can remember about that which you have always known regarding God, regarding life, and regarding others. Where do you think all of this is coming from? Where do I think all of what is coming from? All that you're writing right here. I guess I thought it was coming from you. I thought it was coming from God. It is coming from me. It is coming from God. But do you think I am something separate from you, telling you something new? Listen to me. I am you, simply causing you to remember me. Your conversations with God have created a space, opened a door, allowing you to remember what you have always known. Now the final question is not whether you will continue to remember, but whether you will continue to act as if you do not. Ouch. Well, that is the question, isn't it?